Good afternoon, everybody. Today's Battle Rhythm, Veterans Benefits Fraud Prevention, will be hosted by Jeanette Gillis. Jeanette is the director of the network at America's Warrior Partnership. The network provides veteran-serving organizations with connection to national resources when a veteran's request cannot be met locally. To find out more about the network, please visit americaswarriorpartnership.org/the network. That's it for me. Jeanette, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to the lovely month of May. I know and happy Cinco de Mayo as well. I'd like to welcome our affiliate communities, our branches, any veteran service organizations, and all of our guests that are on the Battle Rhythm with us today. Today's topic is a really important one. Fraud attempts targeting veterans, families, survivors, and caregivers is on the rise. Veterans continue to experience higher individual losses than the general population, with median fraud loss of $700. And a lot of our veterans, especially lower income veterans, cannot afford a loss of even that amount. So that is significantly above the $497 amount reported across all FTC complaints. Criminals often target veterans and their families because many veterans have a steady income and benefits. Additionally, the unique culture of the veteran community can enable criminals to gain unwarranted trust. Please welcome our subject matter experts today. They are from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and have a wonderful program for us. Monica Rivera and Krystle Good. I'm going to turn this over to you, and we're excited to hear what you have to share.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us. We are so very glad to be here and be part of your forum this month. My name is Monica Rivera, and I am the chief over the Stakeholder and Organizational Change Management for the Veterans Benefit Administration. Specifically, we are a directorate within the Office of Financial Management. And with me, I have Ms. Krystle Good, who is one of our senior analysts within our division. All right, I am gonna share my screen with you if you give me just 1 second. All right. So during today's presentation, we're gonna be providing you with information with the top scams. How can you protect yourself from those scams? And will be providing you with resources. You will also learn more about the Veterans Benefit Administration and what we're doing to protect veterans and their benefits. Our first activity or question is we want you to tell us what are three things you guard or protect the most. What are three things you guard or protect the most? And we're going to give you about 60 seconds to access this question or to provide your response. So as you can see on the screen, we have family at the very center. Then we also have home, money, finances, credit card, social security number, my money, computer, my health, peace, bank, family again, children, health, finances again, and credit. So we all have these things in common. And again, this presentation today will help you. We'll give you tools and information on how can you protect these things that are the most important to you. So thank you so much for participating in our very first activity. All right, so to give you more information about what are we going to talk about today, like I mentioned, we're going to provide you with an overall of what are we doing in the Veterans Benefit Administration. Specifically, we're going to talk to you about what are those things that we're doing internally through the partnerships that we have with our business lines. We'll talk about fraud prevention. We'll also discuss with you some cases where the fraudsters or the perpetrators are not necessarily who you think they are. We'll discuss what are their preferred communication mechanisms. We'll give you information on how you can protect your personal information or personally identifiable information that are known as PII. And then we'll go ahead and discuss some of the top scams that we're seeing, the latest trends. And then last but not least, we'll provide you with resources so you can know what to do in case you experience or are at a risk of experiencing fraud. So let's talk about the Veterans Benefit Administration. So as I mentioned, we are a directorate within the Office of Financial Management. Our directorate is called Benefits Delivery, Protection, and Remediation, better known as BDP&R. And what we do is we partner with our business lines within the administration, and those business lines will be some of the offices that work directly with the different benefits that veterans receive, such as compensation benefits, pension, education benefits, all those different offices that are working directly with the delivery of those benefits. And then what we do is we have subject matter expertise interviews, we conduct risk assessments, and then we analyze a lot of data. And what we do is we identify potential vulnerabilities or areas that are at risk that might compromise the delivery of these benefits. We work together to identify solutions in the areas in which we can improve, and then we conceal those vulnerabilities. In addition to that, we also develop prevention communication messages, communication campaigns, and a lot of other tools that you will see during this presentation. Now, let's talk about other collaborations and partnerships. We work very closely with the Department of Justice, the Department of Treasury. At times, we work with the office, the FBI, the Federal Business Bureau, Federal Investigation. Oh my goodness, Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Office of Inspector General, OIG, and other law enforcement agencies. But in addition to that, we also work with other agencies that are also working on protecting consumers and the veteran and military community. We exchange a lot of information. We conduct partnerships. Together, we produce YouTube videos. We have a very strong presence on social media. We write articles together, and we're always doing different activities and engagements so we can disseminate the information that we have and amplify our reach. Now, let's talk about fraud prevention. So fraud is the intentional misrepresentation of information to gain undeserved payment. Unfortunately, fraud is increasing at a global scale, changing the way that businesses and individuals protect themselves and data. And unfortunately, veterans are often targets of fraud, and fraudsters are improving their methods of fraud and becoming more sophisticated within their attacks. Veterans are very attracted to fraudsters or scammers because, number one, they know that most veterans receive a monthly compensation, whether that's pension or benefit, pension or compensation benefits. And unfortunately, some veterans tend to share a lot of information online, so that attracts fraudsters. And they understand that some veterans can be very vulnerable about sharing this information and not necessarily know the extent of the information they are sharing and how this can be utilized against them to steal their benefits and their information. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about some cases, and we're going to spend a little bit of time on this slide here. Fraudsters, scammers, or bad actors are not always who you think they are. And as I mentioned, I'm going to share with you some cases that we have actually investigated in our office, and we have helped bring some of these bad actors to justice. The very first case is the daughter of a surviving spouse who impersonated her deceased mother of 40 years. She stole almost $500,000 in VA benefits and used those funds for her personal use. What the daughter did was that she failed to report the death of her mother, and she submitted fraudulent paperwork to keep the VA benefits active. So she continued to collect those checks or those direct deposit payments. Next, we have a veteran that stole and used personally identifiable information, PII, from his fellow soldiers. And he used this information to get access to VA benefits, and also to establish bank accounts or even impersonate those fellow soldiers to steal their money. Next, we have an educational institution that submitted false claims for education benefits. And this company agreed to pay $100,000 to resolve allegations of submitting claims for inflated educational assistance benefits. And last but not least, we have a home care company that scammed multiple veterans for approximately $20 million in VA pension benefits. And what they did was they were selling services that these veterans did not need. And the home company took about 99% of the veterans' benefits under false pretenses, promising that they will provide the veterans with 70 hours of home care benefits each month. Now, this company, as I mentioned, we were able to help them, help the different law enforcement agencies investigate this case, and the company was ordered to pay almost they were ordered to pay the entire amount that was lost, plus economic and punitive damages. Yeah. So again, we need to be very careful with our information. We need to be very careful with who we share the information, because again, fraudsters are not always who we think they are. Now, what are some of these preferred mechanisms that fraudsters, scammers, or bad actors are using? They're using phones, phone calls, text messages, and emails. And these bad actors are masters of using techniques that can manipulate individuals' emotions and reactions. So they are always going to try to transmit or communicate a sense of urgency, forcing you to make a decision too quickly or without really thinking about all your options. They might also send you text messages that have a link that will then route you to a fake website where they will collect your information, or they will send you emails that might have links that contain malware software that could also harm your equipment. So we need to be very aware of these communication methods. And when we do not recognize the person that is trying to communicate with us, we should try not to engage. If this is an unsolicited call or email or text messages, if you have not interacted with these individuals before, we recommend that you try not to engage with them. Now, what are some of the things that we can do to protect our personally identifiable information, PAI? So very important, we should never share our bank account information with online friends or love interests or any individual that claims to be a friend of a friend of a friend, and they are contacting you via Facebook, or anyone that you really don't know. We should try to identify the identity of anyone that is asking personal information of you. Again, anybody that you don't know, that you don't trust, you should never be sharing your personal information. As I mentioned in the slide before, we should also not click on unknown or suspicious emails or text messages. Further in our presentation, Krystle is going to be talking to you about some text messages that we have seen lately that I'm pretty sure you might have received. So it's very important that we do not click on those messages. And then something really important, and this is part of your financial health, if you will, try to check your credit reports or monitor your credit often so you can see that all the transactions and the information that you own is being utilized for transactions that you have approved. And we don't have someone else running reports or getting credit cards, opening credit cards on your behalf. Now, so talking about credit cards and payments and all those things. So in addition to those preferred communication methods that these fraudsters or scammers use. They're also going to try to make you make payments through untraditional payment methods, such as Bitcoins, cryptocurrency. They're going to try to ask you to buy a credit card and also send them the gift card, and send them the gift card number via email or via text message. And they might try to also ask you to buy them prepaid credit cards and send them in the mail, or wire transactions. Again, fraudsters are always going to try to communicate a sense of urgency to get you to act quickly. And one example, a personal story that I want to share with you is not too long ago, I received an email from the priest of my church. We happen to have a sister parish in Haiti. And he emailed me, letting me know that he was in this meeting, specifically meeting with the group of women that were in a lot of need for food, water, and clothes, their basic needs. And he needed me to go ahead and get these gift cards and email him the numbers of the gift cards so they can use that information. Now I have my priest email, and I was able to realize that the email address was almost identical, but there was one number that his original or his legit email account did not have. So I did not engage, but that was very, very, it was a very real scenario. And they were using information that is true, that we use in our church. So again, fraudsters are very, very crafty. They are very smart. They know what they're doing. So we need to find ways and learn as much as we can so we can outsmart them and get ahead of the game. All right. So we have our next interactive activity. So go ahead and scan the QR code that you have on the screen, or access the link that I believe Krystle put in the chat. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to review 3 scenarios. And what I want you to do is to identify if the scenarios are frauds, suspected fraud or not. So we're going to give you about 2 minutes to address these scenarios, and then we'll discuss the questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out loud the scenarios, and you can respond as you go through them. The first scenario is an older relative shares they had been receiving unprompted calls from the VA asking for personally identifiable information. That's the first scenario. And we need to identify if this is suspected fraud or not fraud. The second scenario, you begin chatting with someone on an online dating app, and they are sending links to crypto resources and pressuring you to invest. And last, we have the third scenario. Your relative, and I'm going to move the QR code. Your relative is designated as the VA appointed fiduciary for their older parent, and they now manage their VA payments. Again, we need to identify if this scenario is in fact a potential or suspected case of fraud or not. And I believe in this example, you should see 3 bars, and you'll be able to move the bar to the respective answer. Thank you so much for responding to this question. So if you responded that in the first scenario, it is suspected fraud, you got it right. The VA is never going to call you and ask you for personal information. We will never contact you to ask you for your bank account information, your social security number, your date of birth. We already had that information. So we will never call you for that. The next one, you begin chatting with someone on an online dating app, and they're sending you links to pressuring you to invest on crypto. That is a suspected case of fraud. You should never feel pressure, especially by someone that you just met on a dating app. So we need to be very careful about that. And last but not least, your relative is designated as a VA appointed fiduciary for their older parent, and they now manage their VA payments. Is this fraud or suspected fraud? No, it's not. Now, the key here is that the VA has appointed this person as a fiduciary. No one else should be managing a veteran's account or their money. It has to be someone appointed by the VA as a fiduciary. And again, thank you so much for participating in these questions. When I go back to our presentation. Now, as I mentioned before, we have partnerships with other federal agencies and other organizations that are also trying to protect veterans, the military community, and the general population against fraud. So as part of the work that we do, we share information, we share data. And I want to share with you some of the data that the Federal Trade Commission has released for this year. This is their Sentinel Network data book. And these are the scams that were the top scams in 2024. And this data was just released last month. So as we can see here, the top 4 scams, overall scams in 2024 involve imposters, online shopping, job scams, opportunities, and investments. And then let's zoom in. We have the top 10 fraud categories that are impacting the veteran and the military community. And then number 1, we have imposter scams, online shopping, investment, business and job opportunities, and other scams. We're going to be touching on some of these scams today. And like I said, we're going to be providing you with information on how you can protect yourself against fraud. So I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Krystle Good, who's going to be going through this different scams, and we'll get any questions that you might have at the end of the presentation. Krystle, floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Monica. All right. So I would love to talk to you guys a little bit about Monica alluded the number 1 scam that is affecting the veteran community, imposter scams. And I am sad to report to you and kind of bring this realization that criminals don't really care what your age is, what your branch of service was, or what your rank was in service. Criminals are targeting the veteran community aggressively despite those parameters. Okay, a little bit more about government scams, government imposter scams, rather. How do they occur? You may ask yourself. What happens is that different entities or different folks will call you via these different communication platforms. And what they do is they pretend to be from an organization, they'll pretend to be, for example, the IRS, the Veterans Administration, the Social Security Administration. And they will go as far as even using different, using name recognitions of using different real names of different folks that may work or be the head of those different organizations to try and create that semblance of realness or validity, rather. They'll contact you and they'll say a couple things. They will inform you that you won a prize. They will inform you that there is a problem. Like, for example, you may be overdue on a payment. When they prescribe to you that you are, for example, in trouble with the government and owe the government money, they will go as far as warning that you are at risk for immediate arrest or you will have a warrant issued. They use these different fear tactics to force a sense of urgency and in an attempt for them to collect your sensitive information. So another scam that I did want to mention to you guys about, we talked a little bit about government scams, but and I'll get into it a little bit more, talking about the grandparent scam, which I want to make sure there is awareness of, because this is similar to the government imposter scam, but it is a different type of imposter, essentially where grandparents are being contacted under the guise of a family emergency. For example, the criminal will use artificial intelligence to create or mimic the voice of the grandchild or a relative in distress to try and trick the veteran into sending money or releasing personal information um, in order to save the identified relative from the situation at hand. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, so number 2 on Monica's list that she highlighted from our industry partners was online shopping. And if you are like me, I definitely enjoy online shopping and the eases that it creates. But criminals are exploiting this. They are, for example, creating fake websites that impersonate legitimate retailers in attempts to steal your money, steal your personally identifiable information. There's a couple different things that you can utilize to look out for these different types of online shopping scams. One of them is always check the website that you're looking at. Just like Monica alluded to with the imposter scam that happened with her priest, the criminals are using eerily close, sometimes one letter off, one character, to websites that are legitimate. The next thing is research your seller. You can do different things like just doing a simple Google search by typing in the name of the seller followed by keywords like fraud or scam, and you'll notice very quickly if other customers have reported in suspicious activity. The last thing is if something sounds too good to be true, no matter if a company is supposedly going out of business, like the scam that I fell victim to online, be if the deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. So just please be very, very vigilant where you click, and the average, and don't get lured in by the guise of unrealistic prices. Okay, next slide. So number 3 on the list was talking about investment schemes. One of the biggest investment schemes going on right now is surrounding cryptocurrency. And it's happening because a lot of people just don't really have a good grasp of what cryptocurrency is, how to utilize it to the best of their advantage, etc. Cryptocurrency is a type of digital payment that generally exists only electronically. Reasons why people may prefer cryptocurrency include that they can make quick payments. They can avoid transaction fees that are usually associated with, traditional banks. So those are some reasons why people love cryptocurrency. Scammers also like using cryptocurrency to complete their scams. But here's a couple things to remember. Cryptocurrency investment scams typically come with the promise of guaranteed profits or very large returns. Like Monica indicated, the VA and different legitimate entities will not contact you and ever demand that you submit any type of payment via cryptocurrency. And the reason why is that cryptocurrency holdings, they don't have the same protections available as, that are typically associated with, for example, your bank account. Like cryptocurrency is not insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which you may know as the FDIC. So they're also not reversible. Once the money is sent or dispersed via cryptocurrency, it is impossible to obtain it again. So be very, very cautious of cryptocurrency investment scams and people making these lofty promises. If you are the victim of cryptocurrency scams, there's 2 main places where we recommend that you report it. The first one is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and the second one is the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Both of those are really good places to report any type of crypto scams or suspicions. I'll go to the next slide and tell you about a type of scam that I want to make sure that you're aware of and you share with the veteran population that you serve, as it is increasing at a staggering rate. It is romance and friendship scams. Romance and friendship scams, the Better Business Bureau in 2024, last year, actually noted that romance and friendship scams had the highest median dollar loss at over $6,000 of all the scams. It is on the rise. It is in the number 3 spot, and I venture to say that it will continue to rise. The Federal Trade Commission, for example, noted that in 2024, 53% of men and 47% of women reported experiencing some type of romance or friendship scam in the online dating environment. So couple things to take away when we talk about romance and friendship scams. Please warn the veterans that you serve to be very, very careful in their social media interactions. The scammers are exploiting trust. They're building these fast, quick relationships on social media, and how it typically goes is, they'll reach out to establish a relationship, followed by very frequent communication. Next comes the love bombing. The overly flattering comments. I love you, within days or hours, to express their intense interest. And then comes the guise of some emergent situation that presents itself that they need rescuing from. Like, for example, some of the romance scammers will say, I need $3,000. And if you give me the $3,000, I will pay you back in 2 days and I will double the money. So it is almost these very, very appealing offers is essentially what I'm trying to portray. Like Monica mentioned, a couple things to remember is never share your banking information with online acquaintances that you meet. If someone is overly flattering or feels disingenuous, trust your gut. Be very careful. If you're at all familiar with the show Catfish on MTV, you've seen them do the reverse image search. That is something that you can actually do via Google, where you can pop in, for example, the picture or a profile picture of someone that you are interacting with to figure out, is this really who I'm talking with, or does this picture actually have 30 other associated profiles, which is a very good indicator that this is a scam or a ruse. The next thing is maximize your privacy settings. Social media is increasing in online dating apps that you can definitely drill down your privacy to adjust and minimize the people that can see your profile and your post. This will definitely reduce your vulnerability to different scammers that are online trolling. All right, the next scam I want to tell you about is I am willing to bet that 50% of the folks on this call have received, in the last month, one of these text message scams saying that they owe a toll, or they owe a toll, and followed by, if you don't pay this roadway toll, your registration is going to be voided, or your tag. The guys changes a little bit, but essentially, there's a significant increase in unpaid toll scams. You may receive a text message, and sometimes they look super legitimate, and then you have to take a pause and remember, never click on anything in these suspicious text messages. Sometimes these text messages embed malware um, that they utilize to obtain information from your device, or they may demand that you pay the fee via your credit card or your payment information, and they use that information adversely once they have obtained your critical information. Another scam that I'm sure you are probably familiar with is mail scams. What happens is you receive a message that indicates that you have a package waiting. If you order as much as I do online, that is a high likelihood, but I definitely warn you to be very cautious of clicking on any of these links within the that you receive via text message. They also look very authentic sometimes, but please never enter in for example, your mailing address, your email number, all that type of critical information the scammer will utilize to potentially steal your identity or for other ill use in the future. Okay, let's talk about another type of scam that is near and dear to my heart as it affects the uh, elder veterans, and it is called pension poaching. You may say to yourself, what is pension poaching? It is essentially a scam where criminals are targeting older veterans, 65 plus, their survivors, their family members who are potentially eligible for the VA benefit titled pension. Um, these these unethical advisors, what they do is they advise the potential claimant to shift their assets around. They say move your retirement funds here or move your Roth into this account so that the veteran or the survivor can falsely qualify for pension benefits. We have a host of different organizations that are ready to help. Like veteran service organizations. Also, you can come to the VA for assistance with filing of claims, and we definitely um, would like to resonate that with the population. Please seek the assistance of accredited representatives. Um, Another thing, Monica touched on this before, but only use trusted payment methods. A lot of these different scammers, they prefer their payment in mechanisms that are hard to trace. For example, wire transfers, bitcoins, prepaid debit cards, money transfers, gift cards. Um, Whenever someone is asking for their payment via that communication mechanism, your antenna should go up. It's probably a scam. Um, so, all right, next slide, please. All right. There are a couple things that our team is working very diligently on, and I want to make sure if you have an opportunity to amplify this messaging to the veterans that you serve or publish it on your respective platforms. Um, on May the 15th, it is actually National Fraud Awareness Day. Um, and followed by that, on June the 15th, it is World Elder Abuse Day. Um, if you can share and publish information on your platforms to warn veterans against some of the scams we mentioned, and also um, in general to be alert for different techniques that are appointed towards the veteran population, we would greatly appreciate it. Um, so, and what happens is, unfortunately, a lot of these scammers and con artists think to have this, they tend to have this false premonition that older veterans are a prime target because they have plenty of money in the bank. And like I mentioned before, scammers, in addition to trying to be strategic and target what they perceive as wealthy older veterans and adults, fraud is also affecting veterans that are within the lower income range and entitled to pension benefits. So please, please, please amplify this information that you, in any opportunity that you have to warn veterans against the imposter scam, grandparent scams, pension poaching, romance and friendship scams, so that we can make sure we keep the veterans' entitlements or their loved ones' entitlements where they rightfully belong. Okay, I want to go to the next slide and tell you guys a bit about some red flags that we've talked on, but I want to make sure that if you take a screenshot of anything during this presentation, this is that slide. Make sure that you warn veterans that you serve to please be aware be very wary of unexpected phone calls, emails, messages, people pretending to be from legitimate organizations or contacting them via social media. If it feels fishy in your gut, please, please, please exercise caution. These different scammers, they definitely use a sense of urgency to try and pressure quick decisions, decisions that you typically wouldn't make, if you were not under such pressure of making quick decisions. The next thing is, we shared this before, never share your personally identifiable information online or with untrusted entities. The next thing is make sure that you're using safe payment methods. Avoid the different methods that we talked about: cryptocurrency, wire transfers, debit cards, all those type of things. Next, if something feels too good to be true, if you are skeptical of these promises of easy money, quick turn investments, free prizes, that type of stuff, definitely trust your gut. If it feels like a scam, it most likely is. Another thing is, make sure that you are on the lookout for grammar and spelling errors. A lot of the different texts and communication attempts that I have received definitely involve a lot of different grammar, spelling errors in their messages, in their websites, etc. So be on the lookout. Also, be very cautious where you click. Suspicious attachments and different links, like I said, can embed malware into your devices. So be very careful where you're clicking. Okay, another slide I want to kind of get to recapping and quantifying everything for you guys. A couple do's and don'ts for you all here. The first one is, make sure you verify the identity of any request. If someone contacts you or a veteran that you're serving, and they say they're from, for example, IRS, I encourage them to please end the call quickly, hang up and call you can actually check the government website or a host of different informations to get the true number of the IRS, to make sure that you're talking to who you are supposed to be talking to. We encourage you to, like we said, to only work with accredited representatives. And you can actually do searches for VA accredited representatives for assistance with filing claims or support with different entitlements. If a veteran is missing a VA benefits payment or identifies discrepancies in their payment, we encourage them to immediately contact the 1-800 number, because we have call agents that are at the ready and willing to help. You can file complaints if you are the victim of fraud or suspicious of that fraud may be occurring. You can file complaints directly with the Federal Trade Commission. Okay. The next thing is, I want to talk a little bit about some don'ts. Do not automatically trust people that you meet online, or especially with your personally identifiable information. Be very suspicious of different messages as you're scrolling online. Sometimes some of those paid advertisements are from the bad guys. So do not click on those links or different messages. Okay, we're going to take this opportunity. We shared a lot of information with you all. We definitely want to do a quick knowledge check and just kind of see, make this a little bit fun as we run through a few scenarios. Okay, use your phone again. You can click on the link in the chat, or you can utilize the QR code to review 3 different scenarios and vote using after each of those scenarios. We're going to do 30 seconds. I will read through each of the scenarios as you guys are answering, and after we're complete, we'll go through and just kind of see how everyone did. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to read the first scenario as you guys are providing your responses here. All right, scenario 1. You are a veteran receiving disability benefits. You receive a phone call from the VA asking for your Social Security number to confirm your information and continue receiving your benefits. This is a true or false response. So I'm going to pause for 15 seconds here, give you guys a chance to provide your votes, and then we'll see how everyone did. Okay, looks like you guys have submitted your votes, and you guys definitely were doing some good listening. The response is yes, true. VA will not contact you to request personally identifiable information unless you contacted the VA first. You should not provide your Social Security number to anyone requesting your personally identifiable information. So good job on that one. Okay, let's move on to scenario 2. Go ahead and respond as I read through the scenario. You receive a text message with a link to track the delivery of your latest package. The text is from an unknown number claiming to be UPS. Upon opening the message, you notice multiple misspellings and typos in the content. Should you respond? Okay, I'm going to pause for a second and give everybody a chance. Excellent. You guys are rocking it today. Do not respond. This is a classic mail scam. Be very, very cautious of different text messages you receive, and definitely do not enter in your personally identifiable information, or click on any of the links embedded within the text message, as they may be malware. Okay, scenario 3. I will read through the scenario as you all take your time and vote in the chat. Okay, your older relative is a veteran who is approached by a representative offering services to apply for pension benefits. Your relative tells you the representative told them to move their Roth and retirement assets to qualify for pension benefits. Okay, excellent. You all are rocking it at 100%. This is definitely a asset shifting scam, typically associated with pension poaching, which we discussed previously. Always warn the veterans that you serve to be suspicious of anyone offering to shift around their assets to qualify for pension benefits. The veteran or the claimant may actually be required to repay the benefits to the government. So please, please, please warn the veterans that you serve. Okay. Thank you for participating in that. There we go. Thank you for participating in that last activity there. Okay, so I want to share some preventative measures before we close out the presentation. The first one is definitely don't panic. Take your time verifying information before acting. A lot of these scammers, they definitely prey on creating these urgent situations and trying to force you into quick decisions that may be against your better judgment. Never share your personally identifiable information. Be very aware that these scammers use this information to try to steal your identity or obtain your financial entitlements. Never send money. The criminals prefer untraceable mechanisms when attempting to obtain financial benefits. Only use trusted payment sources. Stay away from sending gift cards, cryptocurrency, prepaid debit cards, that type of stuff. The next one is, if there's different ways to report a scam. If you are missing your VA benefits payment, please contact the 1-800 number immediately so that we can assist you with obtaining that payment, that entitlement that you're provided, and also launching an investigation so we can figure out what's going on. Okay. Let's see. You can also contact directly the different organization. For example, if it's an imposter scam, contact the organization directly. Like I said, I recommend always hang up, disrupt the call, and then call the number that you have associated with the federal organization to make sure that you're talking to who they're actually saying they are. Okay, next slide is the resources slide. We provided you guys with a lot of different information. I want to make sure that you all are able to check out some of the different statistics that we've referenced. You can actually check out the Better Business Bureau scam tracker report, or you can check out the Sentinel report from the Federal Trade Commission that talked about the different top scams that occurred in 2024. At VA, we have a robust toolkit that provides different information on common scams impacting veterans. Some of them we mentioned, and also shares different preventative measures to avoid scam. We do a lot of different publications on with the media, with VA News, and different platforms to reach the veteran population. If you are on social media, I encourage you to follow the Department of Veteran Affairs Facebook, Instagram, and X platforms. We also have a YouTube channel that you can access for a host of different very valuable information. There's a VBA newsletter that you can sign up for and receive on a monthly recurring basis that contains a lot of useful information for the veteran population, but also a lot of fraud prevention information. All right, I will go to the last slide where Monica and I welcome any questions that you may have. Okay, I'm going to scan the chat and see if we have any questions here.
I saw a comment, Krystle. I think it's from Lauren. The VA does call veterans to schedule an appointment, respond to a referral, etc., and requires the patient to identify with the last four of their social security number. The veteran might not recall the reason for the appointment, so it might seem unprompted, but this is not an unlikely scenario. And you're absolutely right. It is not an unlikely scenario. So if a veteran does not feel comfortable providing the information, they don't remember that they were scheduling an appointment, they can hang up and they can contact the VA, and then they can verify the authenticity of the call. So that's an advice that we also provide veterans. You know, if the call seems too real and you're not sure, always hang up, and you can call the VA, call us back, and we will authenticate the call. I saw a comment from Bill Brown that someone offered to buy their house with Bitcoin. So that's really crazy. Then I think I saw another comment here from Hugo. Why is it that there is so much bad grammar and spelling in fraud emails? Why haven't the bad guys figured out that there is a tailgate sign of fraudulent message? Is there something else going on? Training for AI, maybe. So I actually, this is a really good question. That's testing my knowledge. I was studying for the fraud examiner certification, and this was one of the things that we discussed. Number one, some of these bad actors or scammers are not necessarily from the United States, and English might not be the first language. You might be familiar with, there's a very famous scam of, I think he's the Prince of Nigeria. The Prince of Nigeria might be contacting you because he needs a favor, or you name it, for any reason. So there's a lot of scammers that English is not the first language. So that's the first reason. Second, I'm learning that although scammers are very smart about their tactics and they use sophisticated schemes, sometimes it can be sloppy and lazy. So they think that they have it all figured out, and that's not the case. But you alluded to something here that we also discussed in my class, and it was that as we continue to use and learn how to use AI, they might not only start using AI for correcting the grammar, but to also ensure that the language that they are using sounds or looks like a native speaker. So they're using the local slang or the regional slang, so it can look even more real.
Excellent. Great questions. And thank you guys again so much for having us. I will hand it back over to Allison.
Hi, Krystle. I am going to give the host control to Jeanette, who will close it out for me. But we appreciate you and Monica coming on today and giving us some tips and advice and great information. All right, go ahead, Jeanette.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We'd like to thank you all for being on the call today. At America's Warrior Partnership, we partner with communities to improve veterans' quality of life, thereby reducing veteran suicide or self-harm. We believe that communities are best equipped to improve veterans' quality of life. Our goal at America's Warrior Partnership and today is to provide community partners like yourselves with information, support, and best practices to help you deliver quality services to veterans in your community. Our next battle rhythm is going to be on June 2nd, and it's going to be titled Measuring Impact, a Veteran Nonprofit's Journey Through Evaluation. We hope you all can attend. We thank you and have a great rest of your day.